friends! I am here today with Cheeseness. How are you doing today, Cheeseness?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Today is a
It's nice
delightful
to hear.
day.
It is. It's quite sunny here. Um, I don't have any birds in my feeder, but I can see some on the fence, and that's nice.
Nice. It's cold here. But, you're in the middle of the summer, I'm in the middle of the opposite.
Yeah. A slight degree of contrast there.
A wee bit. But you know what? That is fine and good, because we are going to be playing some of your creations, and I'm excited for this.
Me too. Some of these games I haven't touched in a long time. So it'd be fun to have a look at them with fresh eyes. And some of them are fairly recent, and it's all exciting. Yeah, I think thanks heaps for being interested, I guess.
Thank you for being interesting.
I do try.
You make it easy.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so the first one we're going to bring up is Cloud Courier, I believe.
Yeah, so this was the most recent game that I made during a game jam. And this was made for the Stop Waiting for Godot jam, which was run by Terry Kavanagh, who people might know as the developer of Dicey Dungeons, or Super Hexagon, or VVVVVV. And the sort of theme behind the jam, the idea behind the jam was stop putting off learning something new. Stop waiting for Godot to be a thing. Just give it a go.
Yeah, very good advice. Very good. Very good advice.
It's one of those things, right? Because there's always, no matter what point in time you stop to consider things, there's always going to be something new around the corner. As a general thing, not that I'm advocating like infinite economic growth or anything like that. Like, just in general, when people are making something, there's a new version or a different version or some change somewhere around the corner at any point in time. And at any point in time, you can justify putting it off. And you can infinitely put it off and never do anything. Or you can just say, okay, I'm going to make do within, with what I have. I'm going to work within the constraints that are here. I'm going to make something. I'm going to learn something. And yeah, I think the jam was all about the jam was all about breaking that cycle.
Now, I gotta tell the people about this. I gotta tell the viewers about this. I've found a way to soft lock the game before I even started playing the game. Instantly, I just hit new game and then said, oh wait, I wanted to open settings. So I hit new game, then I hit settings, and bam, we're locked. Like, I wasn't even intending to do any QA or bug testing. Like, this wasn't even my intent. To just say like, oh, huh. Oh, I think that was amusing, at least. But that's fine. We can believe it does happen. Yeah, it happens to everybody. And
am I a little bit quiet? No? Okay, we're good. Sorry, I just saw someone in chat asking saying they were having trouble hearing me.
I have your volume set pretty well.
Yeah, I see others saying they can hear me fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Right on. All right. New game. What happens? I am in a hot air balloon.
So the idea is that you can control your vertical movement, and you can climb and descend. You should never use your sideways thrusts. They're only for small adjustments. And your fuel is down the left. Using lateral thrusts will consume the fuel very quickly. But the idea is that you climb until you hit an airstream, and that will blow you along. And you ride the airstream until you get to somewhere interesting. There's a couple of speech bubbles around the sides of the screen of people who are waiting for a balloon.
Okay. So it's like Crazy Taxi, just not as crazy. Oh gosh, we're going the other way now.
You can refuel at any villager. So if you find yourself running low, you can stop at any villager's spot. And
hello, friend.
Here we go.
Oh wait.
So they'll ask you to deliver a package. Oh, careful now. There we go.
Okay. We got a package.
So we got a package here.
Oh, it's going up there. All right.
And so the idea is that you sort of explore around and try and find where the optimal paths are. And
Very
the levels are
common.
generated, so it's not it's not predictable. It's something that you do kind of learn all the time. As a fallback, there are guaranteed airstreams at the top and bottom of the screen, so you can kind of get
that's
from
clever.
anywhere to anywhere. The ones at the top lead left, and the ones if you go too far out of the play space, it'll respawn you. Yeah, the ones at the top lead outward from the middle, and the ones at the bottom lead inward from the sides. So you can kind of between those, you can sort of find your way from anywhere to anywhere. But yeah, this was made. I think the jam was like a 4 or 5 day jam, and I was initially planning to not participate. Halfway through, I was like, what if I made a game about delivering packages and hot air balloons?
Just sort of inspiration struck you, and you were like, okay, you know what, I'm doing this.
Yeah, and that happens sometimes. I collaborated with an artist who hadn't done stuff for games before, but had really wanted to, and so it was important for me to try and give her a positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she did a great job. I really love the stuff that we came up with.
Mm-hmm. I like the animations. Like there was just a single one different frame. Like I don't even know if animation is the right word, but like just one keyframe that I think worked really well.
Yeah, so it's like one pose, right? Like if you approach the villages from above, you will find that the animations read a bit better. They're actually reaching up to hand you the thing that you're receiving. I think you might be out of fuel here.
Whee!
If you fall into a villager, it'll kind of sort you out, fill you up. Yeah, once you do 5 deliveries, it will give you the option to visit that tent that you start at and just generate a new level and do it all again. So there's not a huge amount of game here. Initially, our hope was to maybe look at trying to express some what am I saying here? Some idea that there's a relationship that you're building with these people that you're delivering stuff to, and to have that be your kind of goal is to make everyone happy by connecting them to each other in a space where they're disparate and separated physically. But that aspect didn't really kind of find its way into the game jam version.
The goal is to make friends.
Yeah.
Make friends, participate in a community, in a communal society.
Right. And I didn't want to be that you were like driving the economy. I wanted to make it so that like you're doing things that have like personal value rather than just delivering flour to the windmill.
Yeah. So the stakes are personal as opposed to self-interested. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go about it.
And I feel like there's a space there that you can tell or imply stories.
Okay.
Is that giving you the same delivery for that person all the time? Oh no, the first one went into that other village. Oh, that's okay. I feel like there's a space where you could tell stories. So like maybe someone gets you to deliver like, I don't know, a lost dog flyer to everyone, and like that tells you something immediately. Or maybe someone gets you to deliver flowers to someone else, and then that person gets you to deliver chocolates back to that first person.
Aww.
and then that person gets you to like deliver like a special painting or something, and then eventually at the end you deliver a ring from one person to another, and like that the idea of being able to tell a story about the relationship between people and you feeling like you're playing a facilitatory role in that, I feel like that's really interesting. So if I did any further work on this, I think I would be trying to emphasize those aspects or explore those aspects.
What was the theme of that jam?
Keep it simple, I think was the theme.
Okay.
So the musician was someone that I had peripherally done a little bit of work with. I kind of had known them for a while, but hadn't actually. Well, why are you facing the wrong way there? There we go.
Not a problem.
I'd done some work with them in the past on another Game Jam game, but we didn't end up incorporating their stuff into the game, so I felt kind of bad, and I was looking forward to the idea of being able to collaborate with them again on something else. And I didn't really give them much direction here. I was kind of like, okay, just here's what the game looks like at the moment. Here's what we're sort of thinking so far as tone and style go for the visuals. However you want to interpret this is okay. And yeah, Localhost did a really good job of the music. There are a bunch of different parts to the music, so different instruments, I guess. And we bring an additional one in every time you successfully complete a delivery.
Nice.
If you die, then it takes one away. So, or I think it resets it back to the default. I can't remember. But yeah, the idea of like there's something in the game there that orally communicates your progress.
Yes.
And hopefully keeps the I don't know, adds some dynamism to the experience. The artist I'd known for a long time and hadn't really done any collaboration with in the past, but I did contract her to make a couple of pieces of art for me at the beginning of the year for 2 projects that I didn't get to make last year when I wanted to talk about them and I didn't have anything to show. I'd done a little bit of non-visual work and I'm like, I don't have time to make anything. Would you be interested in painting some stuff? And yeah, she did a wonderful job of expressing those concepts, and she took the 2 character designs from those pieces, and they are the villagers in this, which I didn't ask her to do. That was something she did on her own, and I thought it was just a wonderful surprise. Like, it's not reusing the same art; it's the same characters but drawn in a different style and stuff. But I would really, really like that kind of stuff. Our Buffalo does amazing work, and every interaction I've had with her shows like a deep desire to understand and express the nuance of whatever it is that she's working on.
Subtlety is very important in things like this, right?
Yeah, so like the package that's a letter, which you had before. I don't know when we'll see another one, but maybe we'll see another one. The seal on it's hard to see, but the seal on that is a bee, referencing Hive Time. And there are a couple of other little tiny references hiding in there. And again, all that sort of stuff is stuff that our Buffalo did completely unprompted, and I find it very moving.
Whoosh. Where can I find another left stream? That's... Oh, there's one over there. I have to...
Yeah, you got enough fuel to make that.
There we go. It's very calming, and one thing that I noticed and that I like is that it can't not be calming. Like, if you try to speedrun this, or, if you try to fiend this for points, it's going to inherently fail by the nature of the game.
Right. The game doesn't do anything to reward impatience, I guess. It says slow down, and like I think the goal of the game is to be as efficient as possible, right? To ride the airstreams in a way that conserves fuel and gets you where you want to go with the least amount of effort. But it's about efficiency rather than rushing.
And it's about taking your time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting out of it.
Initially, I had the altimeter there, the differential altimeter, as a meter where the level of the liquid indicated how far away you were from your neutral buoyancy point. But it turned out that people thought that it was a thing that was being consumed and needed to be refilled and stuff. And like,
Oh.
I don't, I don't think it's communicating what it needs to communicate.
So you just cut the concept altogether. And so instead of trying to...
Yeah, I just reframed it and made it look more like a spirit level, which people seem to understand now.
Yeah.
I wish I had time to get a sound effect in for refueling, because at the moment it's not immediately obvious.
I'll be
when
honest
it's
with you.
happening.
I hadn't actually looked at that altimeter thing at all. I had only looked at my fuel because it killed me. I just
Yeah, I don't. It's not essential. Like, you don't need to pay a lot of attention to it. And be careful going too far out this way.
Hmm?
Oh, there's nothing except this bottom stream out on that side. So I was gonna say, if you're exploring too far out to the left, or too far out to the right even, you can find yourself in a situation where you got to use your thrusts to get back to an airstream.
Scary.
There we go. You might be able to see the B in the larger version of the letter down the bottom left. It's hard to make out, but it's nice to know that it's there.
That is nice. Very pleasant. Actually, I think that's the word I would use to describe this game. Pleasant.
Yeah. So I do a AABB intersection detection for the balloon and the airstream. So when you have just a tiny bit of your balloon in the airstream, you'll move slower than if your entire balloon is in the airstream.
Okay.
I feel like that gives you the opportunity to have a lot more control over how you're moving around.
That makes sense.
So I did like outside of the jam, I did another 2 days work on it, I think. One to like add some extra art assets and bits and pieces, fix some bugs and whatever, and another to address level generation. So initially, because I knew that level generation would be a big time sink during the jam, instead of generating airstream placements properly, I just went, okay, well, there's an airstream immediately above and immediately below every island, and that's it. You know, you just that's how you know where they are, that's how you know where to look for an airstream. And like, it's not interesting, but it's enough to allow the functionality of the game to be explored and expressed, and definitely enough to allow development to continue. But it didn't make the game fun to play.
There.
Yeah. So I wanted to come back and rework that, and part of that was adding the top and bottom streams as sort of a guaranteed, you know, if nothing else, you know that you can ride those either back to the center if you go to the bottom, or out to the edges if you go to the top. And then I put 2 pairs of airstreams running the entire length in both directions, and then broke those up into arbitrarily sized chunks and spaced them vertically, like offset them vertically. And so now you end up, sometimes there's interesting groupings and interesting it's more interesting than it was. I don't think it's amazing. I think if I was going to make this into a bigger game, I would probably do authored levels rather than generated ones. But I think that
we just brought this from here to here. If she had a better arm, we wouldn't have even had to deliver that.
Yeah. Like Go Gadget arm. You could just. It was a letter, wasn't it? You could just throw that.
Just shout.
just throw the basket.
I think this is the last one for this world, and we can swap out to the next game.
But yeah, there's not a lot of game here, but I feel like for what it does, there's enough. You know, if you like what it does, then there's enough there to keep you occupied. If you don't like what it does, then you can go off and play something else. That's fine.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying a whole bunch about the theme stuff. Is, you know, in general, a good game jam game comes in, makes a statement, bows gracefully, and leaves. You don't need to have a AAA title. You know, you don't want necessarily even to have, you know, that complicated of an event for a game jam. You just want to come in and show it off a concept, and then thank the audience for letting you show off the concept. It's very easy to have too long of a game for a jam.
Right, and that's why we were happy to cut some of those, you know, bigger things about emotional states and relationships and stuff. It's like we're just gonna focus on the core gameplay, and if we have time, we'll add those other things in.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, because I made an impromptu start on the game without any prior planning, and my collaborators were basically, the morning that I decided that I was thinking of making something, I just asked a couple of people if they were interested in making something with me. They didn't have any prior warning either, so I got the first day, because they were in different time zones from me and were on their way to bed when I asked them. I got to have a whole day making stuff before either of them had a chance to do anything. And I used that time to more or less have the gameplay loop that we see here functional.
Nice.
Which meant that as the... Yeah, so I can, if you are interested, I can drop a link of what it looked like at the end of my first 8-hour day.
Only mods can put links in chat. If you put it in...
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just DMing it to you.
Oh, yeah. Righto.
And yeah, that's like, everything is placeholder. Like, I specifically didn't want to put any of my own art in because I wanted to make sure that the artist that I was collaborating with had enough room to express whatever she wanted to express. I didn't want to sort of predispose any of that, so everything's just circles, just white circles and stuff, with text on it saying what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think
that's
that's like a good example of how getting the getting that core gameplay loop up and happening early allowed us to create something that's, be in a position to have something that is robustly doing what it needs to do enough that that it's playable, as opposed to getting to the end of the jam and going, well, if we had X, Y, and Z, then everything would be perfect, but we don't, so it's kind of crippled right now,
All right. And where are we going now?
That's a good question. I've lost track of the list. Let's do Bad Egg, because that's like the most recent, not massive game, but bigger than these small jam games that I made. And Bad Egg is kind of, it's like part platformer, part flapformer. It's kind of like a flappy game, except you can control your lateral movement, which immediately makes it different, right? Yeah, do the tutorial and we'll see what it is.
Do the tutorial? Okay.
Yeah, it's under the new game menu.
But what if I just did endless first and saw what happened?
I mean, you can have a go. Yeah. I mean, I made it to be the endless game first, and then I added the story in afterward. So I feel like, to me, if you're interested in playing the game and you're willing to stick with it, with the understanding that you've got something to learn, I think it's discoverable. Like, all of what it does and how it functions is discoverable. But if you're going in expecting the game to tell you how to play, you won't find that in the endless mode.
I just want to see what I can pick up. I just want to see what I can figure out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So click to continue.
Where?
Anywhere.
Oh,
sorry, space. Space is your flappy button. You play this with the keyboard. I made this game. I know what's going on. So yeah, people are talking about this being 3D. I think only one of the games that we're going to look at today is not 3D.
Oh, we are super okay, we're an egg. You know what? That checks out. Okay.
Yeah, we're an egg.
I was gonna say we're super fragile, but like, wait, yeah, no, of course we are.
So the last game that we looked at, Cloud Courier, is 3D as well. That's all
really
sprite 3Ds in a 2D space. You can hold down space to glide.
Oh,
and that gives you a lot more control. And I feel like organically you can learn that over time. Sorry, I feel like maybe I shouldn't have spoiled that for you if you were hoping to learn on your own. Yeah.
Okay,
And
now let's see how we actually, you know, I'm supposed to learn.
Yeah.
This is you. You are a bat egg. And what a nice little bat egg you are. Oh,
Careful
right.
now.
Okay, so we do tether a bit. Okay, good.
Yep. It's pretty fun. It is pretty friendly. For a game that is...
For a game that's based off
unforgiving.
Flappy Bird, it's extremely friendly.
Right. I haven't played Flappy Bird. This is more based on my impression of what Flappy Bird might be and how I
Really?
would go about making it more interesting.
I spent about 5 minutes on Flappy Bird and said, you know what, done. Like the actual game, not, you know what I mean.
Right. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where I imagine that you play it for, you know, a minute or something and you know what it is. You've seen everything that it does. And it's like, if you enjoy doing that, then sure. But if you don't, then no. We're going to have another quick read of that tutorial there.
You want to do like that then?
There we go.
Okay,
So that's a maneuver that you kind of need to be able to do in order to play effectively, and I wanted to make sure that the tutorial made sure that you knew how to do that before you before you were thrown into the deep end.
Oh, okay, I have to be doing that thing. Got it.
Yeah, you have to hold down, yeah.
Okay. Oh, you can't.
So as the tutorial says, you can't.
Yes.
Yeah. The little beach ball was an afterthought. Yeah, you got to hang from that branch, or the tutorial won't progress.
Which branch? Oh well.
That one.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, space 3 times at the cost of a spare. Oh, nice.
I really wish that I hadn't presented this resource as lives. I wish I had have presented it as being like a unit of motivation. Because like you tire yourself out by using the stamina sacrifice, and that kind of feels like it fits better with the game's themes.
Yeah.
But hindsight, you know. So the difficulty modes, there are a couple of difficulty axes. One is what is the minimum guaranteed distance between obstacles, and the other is what is the distance between your nests and rests, the points at which you can restore your stamina. And so as you progress through the game, the distance between rests and nests get longer, but the difficulty modes control the minimum distance between obstacles. So normal is kind of how it's intended to be played, but the easy and hard modes both provide something interesting, I think, for people who want, you know, whatever.
So here's an interesting question, at least I find it interesting. Oh, yay, we did it!
Yep. So each level each zone has 4 levels, and
how did you determine how quickly to restore stamina? Because it's not instantaneous.
yeah.
Yeah, like I just find that really interesting because we
How do I go about balancing it?
Yeah, about deciding. Oops.
Dunk. Oh, you also have more starting lives if you remember you can't land on nests while you're carrying stuff. It's like your feet are in use.
Or what?
In use, like your feet are being used. You can't hang
what
from
are in
something
use?
while you're carrying something. Feet.
We don't have those. We clearly are lacking those.
or the tractor beam that you grab
There it
eggs
is.
with.
That's the one.
So your little friend now.
Hey, friend.
See if you can keep them alive to the end of the zone.
That doesn't count as carrying, right? No, it does not.
Yeah, no, they're flying under their own. They're using their own wings. I wanted the
I wonder.
rest points to be, like if you accidentally let go, I didn't want you to, like, be immensely punished. Or if you changed your mind, I wanted to make sure that you could get back on that branch without a lot of trouble. Which is why there's that window of snapping back. Which some people like, and some people don't like. Maybe I should have added a gameplay setting for turning that off.
I feel like that also prevents you from accidentally consuming a life, because I could see easily here just hitting the spacebar 3 times and accidentally whoopsie doodle. I just you know.
Yeah, I don't want to give you the opportunity to accidentally burn. Oh no, you can go back and get him. Oh, he dies in your place. You get to continue on. If you bump into something. Originally, I had it so that when a hatchling died, it was gone for good, and I found that made people too sad.
Yeah.
So now it just goes back to the last nest that you visited.
That seems kinder. Alright, so all we need is another G. Ow.
Careful now.
Oh, we found a G. Yes.
Woo! You get
Good
extra
endings.
life. Very nice.
Good ending. No. Oh no, I wasted it. Okay. If I just explode myself here, do I get that life back?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
So I wanted the last level of every zone to be vertical, because it means you're still using the same mechanics, but you have to engage with them differently, because gravity is working on you in a different direction compared to your flapping. It all sort of...
Aww. Hatchlings befriended. Aww.
Yep.
Along the way, the bat egg met a small hatchling. I'm looking for more bat eggs. They're like found in me. And have you seen any? Said the bat egg gaily, but the hatchling hadn't. They traveled together until they had reached the hills. The hatchling asked if the bat egg had to go. The bat egg needed to find its family. Bat egg. Okay.
They wanted it to have this kind of storybook feel. Oh, careful now.
How many... Oh, it's game over, game over.
Yeah, if you go to new game now, you find that on the skins thing on the end. You've
you can get any of the... Okay, nice.
And any of the friends that you make along the way, you can use.
Okay, so we can still start from that chapter. Okay.
Yep.
So it's a hard game over, but not a... But it saves you progress.
Yeah.
That is nice.
So yeah, I wanted the experience of flapping around to be more technical and give you more control and agency over your movement than what you would typically have in a Flappy Bird game.
Yeah, because the lack of agency over your movement is kind of like the hallmark of that. What I
yeah, because that's all about like precision and timing, whereas this gives you the chance to, you know, it's still about precision to an extent, but you get to control the timing. And if you feel like you've messed up, you can always go back to where you feel safe and take another run at it, you know?
It's comfy and relaxing in exactly the way that Flappy Bird isn't.
Right.
GG.
So Peter did the music for this as well. That's the same composer that I worked with on Hive Time. And this was another case where, whoa, you can't get the egg back. The unhatched egg is gone for good.
Rip. Restart. Run over.
I did find that when I was developing this and when I was testing, if I lost a hatchling, I just quit. Didn't feel good about continuing onward. But like I figure that the hatchlings are sort of an invitation to play perfectly, you know, like and they're optional. You don't need them, but they do carry a lot of emotional weight that I wasn't expecting.
So I have a question for you. How come you limit the amount of horizontal movement on a glide?
Just to make you have to flap again at some point, you know.
Fair enough. Bonk.
Yeah, I didn't want. I wanted it to be giving you a lot of control, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't giving you too much control. You know, it's sort of hard to explicitly narrow down on one key focal point, but I felt like it paces the game better, I guess.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, any right or wrong reason. I'm just curious.
So you were asking how I went about the balancing the stamina recharge time. I initially had it a lot slower, and I always knew that I wanted because if you aren't flapping, you will actually recharge stamina very slowly, even when you're not in a nest.
Okay.
So I always knew that there was a relationship between that I wanted to. If you're gliding, that stops you regaining the stamina as well.
Oh yeah, I see. I hadn't even seen it before.
Yeah. So particularly on vertical levels, that is something that you can make use of to find more efficient ways to flap. But yeah, I had it a bit longer, and it was just mostly a case of making it as fast as felt comfortable for me, as a developer who wanted to give an experience where I wanted you to feel like you had to stop and rest for a second. Because if you immediately get it all back, then you're just going to flap on, and you're not going to stop, and you're not going to think, and you're not going to reflect about what you've just done, or what you've just achieved, or what you've just accomplished. That's what I wanted to have that provide room for, you know?
Yeah, a little bit of waiting to make sure that the themes settle in.
Yeah.
Make you pay a little chance to think about it.
Give you a tiny bit of downtime. And so I wanted the branches to feel less safe than the nests. Whoa, close though.
Rip. Nice. I like it.
Thank you. So yeah, this is sort of a more polished full game, as it were. There's 6 zones in the story mode and 2 endless modes. The first, once you give the endless mode another try, now that you know how to play.
Now that I know what the game is.
But yeah, so the idea is that you can, whatever level you start at, if you're playing on endless mode, it will keep that difficulty forever. If you're playing on survival mode, it will start at that difficulty and increase forever.
Ah. There we go.
I like the hatchling in Zone 3. I think it might be my favorite.
I like the ambiance.
Yeah, cheers. Peter did a great job with the soundtrack, and we were able to make every zone feel different and interesting in its own way. Careful now.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about.
But I feel like it's got fairly simple controls, right? You've got left, right, and flap. And you got 3 buttons to worry about. But I think the way that the systems, make use of those controls, the way that those inputs work with the game, leaves a lot of room for learned nuance. As with Hive Time, I tried to do as much with as little as possible, so there's only 1 mushroom model, but I just scale it and rotate it so that it looks like there's a little bit of variation there.
That's nice.
And you kind of, you don't notice that it's the same thing. If I hadn't mentioned it, I don't think you'd notice.
I don't think so.
I got kind of lazy with how collision works, so the mushrooms actually, and a few of the other obstacles, only have 1 collision shape, which means that the stems don't collide with anything. So if you want to get super fancy, you can zip in under the mushrooms. Be like Luke Skywalker flying between the legs of an AT-AT. Not that that actually gains you anything. Getting that low is kind of risky.
It's all about style. It's all about bat
Right,
styles.
right. I think there's only 2 tree models, but by being rotated, careful now. But by being rotated, we kind of get a bunch of apparent variation. Yeah. And these middle obstacles, these teardrop-shaped ones, there's only one of those.
Okay. All right. So which one do we want to go to next? I like this. This is fun and relaxing and calming, and I think I've gotten a good gist of what the game is at this point.
Yeah. I think you've got an idea of what the core is. I was hoping that you would find the hatchling in this level, though. But it's okay. What level are we on? Oh yeah, so there's 2 exits in the endless and survival modes. One is to continue to the next level, and one is to like gracefully exit without having to die.
Reasonable.
Yeah. Let's do supply chain next.
Supply chain it is.
Supply chain I didn't make for a game jam. Supply chain I made while I was teaching someone how to make stuff in Godot.
Okay.
And
there we go. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to. The person that I was working with, System Chalk, is an economist, and at the time it felt like it would be interesting and fun to. I had this idea a long time ago as a way of exploring some concepts about supply and demand and the fragility of just-in-time supply chains, because they're incredibly brittle.
They are.
The main sort of thought experiment here was, can shelves be empty even if people aren't panic buying? And the answer is, of course, yes. And toilet paper seemed like the right thing to do. So I'd done a little mock-up of this UI here for a minimalist management sim, where the only thing you control is how quickly things are being resupplied. That's what the little sliders down the bottom do. And yeah, a couple months later, I had someone who wanted to learn the ropes, and I was like, okay, well, I got this idea. Let's work with this, because they were an economist, and we kind of felt like we had some.
I've got the spare concept bouncing around my head.
Yeah. Well, and that's how it works, right? Yeah. So we picked it up and we sort of ran with it. Why don't you have a bit of a play with some of these sliders? I think the first thing to do is probably up the production rate, right?
Okay.
You want to get a whole bunch of stock available, because at the moment it's just like not enough stuff. And you could probably get away with turning up the resupply rate at the warehouse. Let's see if. Oh. Okay, so one of the trucks crashed and a load was lost.
I have no understanding of this.
So yeah, the idea is that, all right, I think we're producing too much. We're losing a whole bunch at the. Okay.
Are we winning?
Every period we get a report which tells us how we've done, and this first one doesn't tell us anything interesting because we don't have anything to compare these numbers to. It'll give us a wrap.
So max production rate, minimum resupply, maximum home resupply. Right?
Well,
that's how economy works.
Sure. I think we're seeing that the stores are empty. The idea is that you want to have stock on shelves in all places at all times. Maybe that's too much toilet paper at home.
Well, I have to have at least 80.
I really loved that idea of, like, people put their spare rolls next to the toilet, and I'm like, well, what if you have too much? It just piles up to the ceiling. It's great.
Nice.
Okay, and then you have these events that affect how things work. I didn't quite see what that event was, but some of them will put a minimum resupply threshold or a maximum resupply threshold on something. I think that one raised the minimum resupply threshold on the home, like people feeling like they needed to buy more stuff.
So what's the resupply threshold?
That's how low the stock needs to be before they go out to get more. So if at 50%, then the shelves have to be half empty before a vehicle will be sent out to pick up more stock.
I see. So if I set it to 99%, then the stores will always have stock and everything will go great. But the warehouse we want to be at 0% because we want to go straight to the user.
If the shelves are full, and we're going to see it now, there'll be some wastage because the store doesn't have any space to put the extra stock that's arriving. And you want to minimize the wastage because that's not great. Okay, so that reduces the minimum resupply, although it reduces the maximum resupply threshold for home.
So we
pushed
need
everything
to
down.
Resupply. Wait, what?
So those events, they adjust either the current stock level or the minimum and maximum markers on a particular supply point's resupply threshold.
Okay. I don't understand anything that's going on. But I trust you that if it's made with an economist, I say it has to be, at least in some fashion, made with an economist in mind as well, right?
I guess.
I don't know. I don't.
It doesn't have. It does have a help screen. If you pause, which I think is escape. There's a how to play.
Aha! Okay. I mean, I'm just a kobold who lives in a cave. I don't understand this stuff.
But yeah, like there is this kind of idea of with just-in-time supply chains that you want to keep as much stock in transit as possible at all times and reduce how much idle stock you have sitting anywhere. And the problem with that becomes that if anything disrupts those supply chains, then it all falls apart because nobody's got any reserves.
To play, adjust each supply point's resupply threshold or production rate to ensure that the home supply point can consume while avoiding wastage. Supply point, a visual representation of... Okay. I got nothing. This might be above me.
It's okay. It was also an attempt to see how minimal I could make a management sim. Like, what are the most minimal controls I can give you where you will be able to explore how things work. We also wanted to put like a whole bunch of jokes into these newspaper headlines. There we go. We're producing too much by the looks of things. And if you're overproducing, then the maximum marker will drop over time until you're no longer overproducing. So it kind of, at the top and bottom ends, it sort of balances out a little bit on its own. But the idea is that you are mostly controlling how frequently stuff moves through the middle. And then the events are about disrupting any balance points that you find.
Okay. So optimal just-in-time would be minimum resupply.
Well, no, because that means that they've got to be entirely empty before they'll go out and get more. And you want to have stuff. You don't ever want to have downstream waiting for stock, right?
Okay.
Because otherwise there's shortages and people can't get what they need.
Oh, that's bad, right?
Yeah. Because like if the shelves go empty, then people are going without. So you want to send out your trucks before things are empty. Like we just had the shelves empty there, and then a truck arrived, and now there's stock there. So there was no duration of time where there was no stock, and that's ideal. Oh no!
It's a really easy game of Frogger.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can probably move on from that.
Yeah. Like I said, like it's actually, if you want to wait until the next reporting period, we should be able to. You can click on the little graph icon next to any of these things, and it will give you more information. You can toggle what's shown, and those these graphs are kind of how you learn to manage and learn to find the balance points over time.
Okay, neat.
But yeah, not for everybody, of course. But I really enjoyed trying to make something this minimal. And I really like the music that we got for it. And yet again, I think Peter did the soundtrack, and it's quite funky. And
the music is nice and jazzy. I gotta say, I do like that. Let us move forward, though.
All right. How are you with first-person games?
Extraordinary. I am the best at first-person games. Didn't you know?
Okay. Let's give Flat a try.
Okay, we got this. Oh, what? Hold up. I believe. One sec. One sec. I think I know what just happened.
Please stand by.
There it is. This, I would like to inform my antivirus is not, in fact, a virus.
Oh, thanks, antivirus software, for falsely identifying my cool game.
Suspicious file covered.
I mean, the odds of it having a virus are very low. I don't have a Windows machine, so that my ability to contract Windows viruses is very, very low. I build it with MinGW-GCC, which means I'm compiling my Windows versions. I'm cross-compiling my Windows versions from Linux. So the ability for a Windows virus to sneak into that toolchain is just infinitesimally small.
Yeah, no, I had no fear of it. It's just the game had my Panda antivirus had fear of it. That's all.
That's okay.
Now, this is a first-person shooter.
Yeah, so this is a maybe do the how to play briefly.
Sec.
You're right.
No, wait, that's not right. I'm trying to get it full screened.
It does not currently full screen.
Okay. I'm playing first person.
But you can run it with some launch options that will make it bigger. But yeah, for a jam game, we didn't really have much of a chance to focus on stuff like that.
Yeah, antivirus will often see items compiled with A and D alternate to skate while holding W, backwards by holding S, and still using A. Okay. Collect items, defeat the mighty pulse dragon to free your people from its mind control. I like it.
This is sort of an experimental thing.
Huh.
The longer you hold A and D down for, the more power you'll get out of each stroke. Up to a certain point, at which point you'll start kind of drifting to one side or another.
Fun. I like the movement. The movement mechanics work really well.
Yeah, cheers. I was inspired by a really old, what do you call it? A really old, I guess like a party game type thing called Winter Games. It was by a company named Epix, who did Summer Games and California Games. Kind of like Skate or Die or Ski or Die. Those kind of things where you've got like a whole bunch of different events that you can do that are themed around a thing. The Winter Games thing had a you got some enemies coming after you.
Enemies?
Keep an eye out. Yeah.
Oh, hello, enemies.
There they are. Careful now. But yeah, it had a speed skating event where you had to, like, with a joystick, alternate between left and right to pick up speed. You didn't control, like, any of your movement. The only thing you did was move left and right. And I wanted to see whether or not we could bring that kind of movement concept into a first-person game, and I think it works kind of well. Did you turn on auto heal, by the way? Oh, hang on, look around.
There's many of them. Oh, there's so many of them.
Yeah, you might want to turn on auto heal, so that it automatically consumes the health kits without you having to press Q.
Okay. And when I said I was good at first-person shooters,
that was not necessarily so serious.
No. The thing is that I'm used to, like, you know, Counter-Strike and Unreal Tournament. Those were the big first-person shooters that I played, both of which
this is different.
Circle strafing is a primary component of.
Yeah, well,
you
can kind of do that. So if you skate backwards in a circle, you can. Hold on. Alright. Go and make sure you get that. That if you look around, there's a thing coming down from the sky.
I can't look up or down though, so.
Yeah, to the left there.
Ah.
Yep. Let's go and get that.
Yeah, beans.
Takes a bit of practice.
Gimme. Big gun.
All right, now you got more health kits and a bigger gun. So the guns have some degree of kickback, and skating backwards while shooting is really, really easy with the shotgun.
Nice.
In fact, it's possibly too easy, so often you'll find that you you go a lot faster than you intend while you're firing at enemies while going backwards.
Do I take damage from hitting these things?
No, you just bounce off them.
Okay. Bye.
There you go. So you can press space while you're leaning, just kind of dodge sideways and jump out of the way of bullets. Or projectiles, or energy balls, or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
And this has an end, like it's a final boss that you can defeat.
Alright, I don't know if we're gonna get there, but we might try.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so all of this is 2D.
Interesting. So the cloud game was 3D, and this game is 2D.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
I modeled all the assets up in Blender and then exported 2D files. So it kind of looks 2D, but every object is rendered from like 16 different angles. So as you move around things, you get to see different views of them.
So what triggers it to say hold W and pace yourself to skate faster?
If you're not going fast enough. So the enemy spawn thing, the enemy spawn thing is based on how fast you're moving and how far you've traveled while moving fast. And that's to mean, like, generally when you're engaged in combat, you're going to be moving slower. So the idea is that you don't cross the threshold to start spawning more enemies and spawning new stuff when you're in the middle of engaging other enemies.
Okay, nothing spawned after that wave.
Yeah, go for a bit.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I did an update for this recently. This is actually the first Game Jam game that first game that I ever made during Game Jam, first Game Jam that I ever participated in. And I recently shipped an update for it, which after 8-9 years is a long time. But I was really happy to come back to it and happy to give. Yeah, turn global volume down and music volume up, and that'll make the apparent balance between sound effects and music better. I had wanted to. So prior to this, it didn't have any volume controls. It didn't have any menus. Didn't have anything like those kind of things I added. And I would have liked to have done proper effects volume, but that would have been like a massive refactor of the audio system.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we should be.
Oh yeah, all of these games are on my itch page.
Yes. I think I put that in the description. If I didn't, I will do it after we're done. But
He's not in the description. It's just cheeseness.itch.io. It's not too hard to find.
Dragon
Yeah.
thing.
This is the boss.
Oh snap!
You have to get up close to it. So it didn't have the text down the bottom either. The hint system was something that I started writing in 2012 and finished like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, there it is.
And it's pretty tough. It's a pretty tough encounter. One of the changes that I made in this recent patch as well was to limit how many enemies can spawn while you're engaged with the dragon. Because I feel like the enemies that spawn during that, their purpose is to be a distraction, not to just completely overwhelm you. So if it's like spawning 12 dudes while you're in the middle of fighting the dragon, that's not making for an interesting experience. I don't know if it's still around, but another supply capsule did spawn.
I'm sort of looking around, but I don't see it anywhere.
I think it might have moved out of range and at least spawned.
Do I have to be hitting the head?
Yes, at the moment. The head's the only one. Nice jump out of the way there. Yeah, we can see that the head's changing colour. You're definitely on track to hit the second phase here. Because the boss has 3 phases. During the second phase, the tail is what's taking the damage. You can see the tracks coming. And because it's moving away from you, you're now fighting against the kickback from the weapon, which creates a sort of a different, different thing that the game is asking you to do. You know?
Yeah.
Apparently the shooting is so loud that we can't be heard. Which I'm like, you turned the volume down heaps, right?
I sure did.
Weird.
I think we're pretty much done anyway, since I'm going to die horribly.
I mean, you're close. There's not much of it left, right? Hey, nice, you got it.
Oh, that was it. Nice.
Go check out the stats. The stats stuff is new. Previously it just quit when you when you defeated the Pulse Dragon. Good times.
Reasonable.
So now I give you the ability to tell you it took you 7 minutes, and you know, if you're the kind of person who wants to play lots and optimize the play experience, then I feel like these stats are going to give you a little bit more mileage out of what's going on. So,
you know what I feel like this would be an interesting translation to? VR.
Yeah. Actually, that's something that I would like to do. It's experimenting with that is something that's on my to-do list. But the core tech being 2D, it's a little bit harder to get the stereoscopic rendering going on in a nice way.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like that's like compared to say Cloud Courier, and probably Supply Chain as well. Like that feels like a much more whole experience.
It is. I like
than some of these other. And Bad Egg's a fairly whole experience as well. This is definitely a lot smaller than Bad Egg. But yeah, I'm really proud to have worked on that. I worked on that with 2 other people. It was their first game jams as well, I think. And one of them, all 3 of us have been able to grow our careers as game developers quite a bit since then. One of them is currently working on Kerbal Space Program 2, and another is the developer of a game called Ravenfield, which is on Steam and has quite a large audience. Nice. It's really cool to see that the 3 of us continued doing this stuff, and each found different ways to explore and find some degree of success in what we do.
All right, we have a couple left. Where are we headed?
Yeah, let's do Honeycomb Crunch next. So often when I'm I used to run my local Linux user group, and that's petered out now and doesn't really happen anymore, which is kind of sad. But we're in a pandemic anyway, and think be running right now. Regardless, this one doesn't have volume controls, sadly, and it's probably quite loud.
It is a bit, but unfortunately, I have to turn you down with it because the way layouts are.
Does your operating system have a per application volume mixer?
It does. And that's what I'm about to.
Sweet.
There we go.
But yeah, often when I'm making a game, I'll also be like participating in other communities and giving like talks and tutorials and stuff. And I wanted to give a talk on using Godot for my Linux user group while I was in the middle of making Hive Time, and I feel like because Hive Time came out of a jam and because it was halfway through development, I felt like it wasn't really a good representation of what a project looks like on the inside, and it's hard for me to show off half-finished things and talk about how people can make stuff themselves, So I wanted to make something small that I could do a code walkthrough of during a 1-hour presentation and like go through the steps of what's involved with making this game. And so I made this game in about 2 days.
Nice. Is this a? So is this a sequel?
No. I mean,
where does this fall in the greater Hive Time canon?
So the foragers, one of the special hats that the chat bees or the special bee foragers can wear is the tech helmet the helmet from the tech bee here in Honeycomb Crunch. So there's a little connection there, and the upgraded map rooms have screenshots of this game on the consoles as well.
Nice.
So there's a little bit of connection. I feel like Honeycomb Crunch is a game that bees in Hive Time play. Okay, so your job is to collect pollen from the flowers and avoid the obstacles.
Okay. Can I get there in time? Yes, I can. Cool.
You got this.
Interesting that it's mouse controlled.
Yeah, you can use a gamepad or a keyboard or whatever you want. But I prefer the mouse controls.
Okay. Can I? Hold on. I can't entirely, actually.
Careful now. What's going on?
My mouse position is overriding the other options.
It is? Huh. That should only happen if...
If I look over my mouse here, my model still drifts, and my...
Oh, right, yeah.
buttons...
So, I guess if you go back to the menu and quit and then play with the keyboard without using the mouse, that will sort that out.
Looks like it's starting to work now.
It's just whether or not, like...
It was waiting for the mouse
stable.
I think I had to finish the mouse drift, whatever mouse drift it was in the middle of.
Had to be centered. But I like the analog control that you get out of using the mouse.
I think I like the precision of a keyboard, but...
So I used to play this game on my Amiga called Swooper, which was kind of like Galaxians, I guess, but a little bit different. And it had these bonus levels where you had to pilot a spaceship through a moving asteroid field, where asteroids were moving at different speeds, and had to pick up stray astronauts who were lost or trapped. And I hadn't played it in like over a decade, and I wanted to make something that explored the kind of game that I remembered playing. So this expresses itself a little bit differently. But I always felt like it was most interesting when things were going fast enough that I didn't know whether or not I was going to make a gap, right? And so what I wanted this to do was to get up to that point as fast as possible so that you can play the interesting bit for a little while and then die and repeat. So it feels quite harsh and punishing for that, but I find it fun. I actually can't stop playing it when when I sit down to play it. Like I will lose an evening playing this, which
I can see why.
I guess means how I have simple tastes, but I think this is probably the game that I play for fun most.
Really? Okay.
Which is not to say that it's like super high quality or super polished, just that I enjoy what this does.
It reminds me a lot of one of the first games that I made.
Oh yeah?
Actually. Ow.
What
Which
game
was
was that?
it was very similar to this, except it was for the TI-83 graphing calculator. Except it just
Nice.
added a component at the top of the screen, and then used the next line to simulate moving the entire screen down. Instead of actually remapping everything, because that was just a much more low-level function that didn't cause as much lag.
Yeah.
But yeah, this and a little racing game was some of my first programming challenges.
Nice.
Nothing like making a program while you're in, simply by having the entire game exist within a while loop. While one.
I mean, we still do that often.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a thing. Like Flat has a while one in the main game loop.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean Godot at some level internally to the engine has a.
Oh, whoa! Ah,
yeah.
I got intense.
I think you possibly could have squeezed through there, but that was very tricky.
Are those backgrounds?
I wanted this third level to be scrolling in a way that was counter to how everything else had been scrolling, to make things feel faster and more intense than they actually are.
Mm-hmm. It works. Oh well.
Yeah, it's like Death in games doesn't have, like, it's not, we don't treat it with any gravitas. It's comically stupid. It has no meaning, and like, yeah, why not just
might as
have
well
the
get some
things
bombast
work?
out of it, right?
Yeah, which is one of the reasons that I'm kind of sad that I stuck with traditional lives for Bad Egg. I wasn't. They were lives because
They were lives
initially
like
I was going to have
lives.
death be a part of the story. But like in hindsight, I think it would have been better to have, to have that resource there be motivation rather than lives.
Oh, yeah.
Because like the idea that you're exhausted and you're giving up when you run out, that still does the same thing mechanically, but I think has a lot more.
But it doesn't
resonance with the game's
codify it.
themes.
It doesn't codify death into the mechanics.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I figure if you are going to have death in a game, like, you should earn it, you know? And if you're not, then it's kind of, by nature, silly and pointless. It may as well be a giant explosion.
Yeah, might as well just, go full force and just like, you know what? You should make it a giant explosion, because why not?
Yeah, so there is a little bit of commentary hiding in this game there. And I guess in Hive Time as well, like death is a very big part of Hive Time, like the population churn is a really big thing, but it's not presented in the way that we present death in games typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Hive Time is just
and
life
I do,
cycle.
like, when your queen dies, like, you do feel something about that often.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when you're in, like, level 6 or something and some hexagon warps in from the Delta Quadrant and just blasts you out of nowhere. It's great. Oh, careful now. So I would kind of like to have time to come back and give a little bit more work to this game. Like, it would be nice to put some more smarts into how the hexagons are spawned, because right now it's just random.
Or some counterplay. Like, I'm not necessarily, shooting laser beams. I get it. Never mind.
Beams.
Not necessarily shooting lasers, but some sort of counterplay, like a reactive shield or something that can.
I wanted to have. There are a couple of things that I had in mind, but didn't really have time to do because, like I said, this was just a little thing that I made while giving a tutorial. I wanted to have like crescendo levels, like kind of boss levels, where you would be, instead of just flying through space, through spaces, you would be navigating within some kind of superstructure, so avoiding fixed obstacles within a space, and having some, like, the camera pan across when you move to the left side of the screen kind of thing. And which I like, it still would be the same gameplay, but it would feel a little bit different, and that would be kind of nice. I wanted to have this idea of these corrupted hexagons, and that's where all of these falling hexagons are coming from. It's like the corrupted hexagons have broken apart some kind of cool space beehive, and you're avoiding all of the debris. And those corrupted hexagons would also be making appearances in levels, and like being dangerous to you. And your objective would be to clear those. And they would be purple colored like the word crunch in the game's logo. So I've like did the logo that's all themed to these mechanics that aren't in the game. And I also had the idea of like it would be cool to have these hexagons that are like rings. They're hollow in the center, and if you hit them at the right time, you can fly through them. But if you hit them edge on, then you'll die. And like maybe that gives you a power up or something. Which might be invulnerability or some kind of
a risk reward
or
a risk reward option.
Yeah, so those are the kinds of things that I had considered putting in there. So this game is open source as well, like part of doing that tutorial, like make the code available to people. It's not super amazing, but it's nice to have out there. One other thing that came out of this game was that I found a bug in Godot, which was I needed to work out when you were close to the edge of the screen, right? So I needed to ask the camera to unproject a 2D position into a point in 3D space, right? Because this has no, this must be orthographic. I don't know. Anyway, the problem being that originally the unproject position function didn't take a depth parameter, and it was just telling you where that position was at the point where the camera is, or on the near clipping plane, I guess, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, that is not useful. When would you ever want that? and so yeah, I ended up contributing a fix to that, so it now takes a depth parameter where you say how far into the scene you want that unprojected position to be, which in this case is the plane that the bee is on, because I don't really care. Don't really care where that position ends up lying on the near clipping plane. What I care about is where the bee ends up. So the graph, I like this idea of I don't like leaderboards, I don't like high scores, because like invariably if you've got like a global leaderboard that you're sharing with other people, statistically the more people there are playing the game, statistically the less likelihood you have of having a rank that matters to you. Right? Like it only matters to the top 5 people or something, or top 10 or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so that doesn't bring you any value, and it doesn't create any resonance with your experiencing. And the same with high scores. It's like one day you're going to get lucky and you're going to peak, and everything after that is going to be less. So a high score doesn't. It's like it's only useful up to a point, and then some point you never get to do better than that, and then you don't find as much enjoyment out of what's going on. So I feel like showing you your scores over time and being able to compare what you've done now to what you did recently is more valuable, because that directly communicates to you growth.
And it shows you immediate trends. That makes a lot of sense.
So this was me. It's like it's super rough, but that's why we've got this graph here. And so one of those lines is pollen collected, and the other is time. I think pollen is the yellow one and time is the blue one.
Okay.
So you got 2 metrics for measuring your success. So yeah, not a super big or impressive game by any means, but I find it kind of fun.
It's simple but fun.
And I feel like I drew upon some of the stuff that game is doing in Bad Egg. I don't know how visible that is to other people, but that whole like avoid the obstacles thing, and like find routes through obstacles is definitely a key part of Bad Egg as well.
All right, we have 2 more. You said you wanted to end on one, so we're going to Winter's Wake. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In the Snowy Winter's Wake is difficult to describe. It's a text-focused thing. So I apologize to anybody who feels like that kind of stuff is not interesting. But it's a text adventure with first-person controls.
Oh, beans. Okay.
Oh, this one has a full screen option.
And it defaulted
If you
on.
wanted that.
I
Oh,
do,
did?
but yeah.
Oh, that's unusual for my
It just
game.
caught me off guard.
I don't even remember setting that as a default. Yeah, so the idea is that there's a 3D
and thanks
scene
for your
around you that
interest
you can't
in
see.
this early demo.
Oh, hey, it's me. There's a 3D scene around you that you can't see, and you use the mouse, like first-person style mouse look controls, to look around the space, and it raycasts out, and it gives you a description of whatever you can see. So if you look down, it might tell you about the ground. If you look up, it might tell you about the sky. And based on whatever the average color of what's visible within the viewport would be, I tint the background based on that. So if you look up, it might be blue for the sky, or if you look down, it might be green for the ground, or what have you. And it plays out as a single verb point and click adventure. And like kind of like Myst, you like click on a door to move to the next scene kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, I will summarize the opening cutscene because that's kind of long if you want to skip it. If you don't want to skip it, that's fine. But the idea is that you've been caught in an avalanche and your legs are smashed and you've got to
An icy wind
find
lashes
something to use
about,
as a crutch.
rising flurries of snow around your legs. You brace yourself against the mountain face as another strong gust throws you off balance. A flash of lightning illuminates the path ahead, and you count yourself lucky to make it to the mountain pass before the big spring storms hit. Finding your footing again, you grin and press on. You wonder for a moment how your younger self... You wonder for a moment how your younger self, venturing out into the world in search of adventure, would be coping with taking the precipice shortcut in a storm like this. Probably cowering in a lee of a rock, you muse. Your
Hold
reverie is
space if you need
broken.
to pause.
Hmm?
Hold space
Oh,
if you need to pause.
Your reverie is broken by another flash of lightning, followed by a booming peal of thunder. Involuntarily, you increase your pace, eager to get off the mountain as soon as possible. Only another hour or two of this and you'll be on the great stairs. In the home of the sun rises, you reassure yourself. An uneasy sense of disorientation overtakes you for a moment as the thunderous rumbling continues. For a brief moment, lightning makes a silhouette of the mountain peak visible. But it seems wrong and sideways. Your gut churns as you break into a sprint and realize that instead of a mountain, you've caught a glimpse of an avalanche. You frantically look for a cave or an overhang or anything to take shelter with, as the world seems to reel and spin around. For a brief moment, you feel weightless as the crushing snow engulfs you.
It's nothing like looking at writing you did a long time ago and seeing things that you could you could improve.
Wait, oh. Oh, I see what you mean with it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing on the right tells you how far up or down you're looking. Compass at the top tells you what direction you're looking.
Okay, so we're not dead, because we can see the sky.
You can
That's a
look
good
at the
sign.
sun if you really want to.
Fair.
So if you see an icon in the bottom right after looking at something, then you can click to interact. You can also right click to see your inventory.
Okay, we do have something on us. You see some snow. Ah, wait. Oh, there we go. We have some snow. Excellent. We have a snowball. Just what we needed. We can't seem to just move towards the mountain, it seems.
No, no. You can only move by interacting with a path after you've found something to use as a crutch. So if you're not looking at nothing, it'll give you like a generic scene description, which gives you some clues and cues for what might be worth looking at in the scene.
Tree. Oh, I threw the snowball at the tree. Oh, cute. Doesn't seem to have helped much, but it made me feel better.
So it said there was a branch beneath the tree.
Oh, I did not catch that. branch feels warm and solid in your grip. Shifting your weight, you feel comfortable. Neat. You see the absence of a branch.
Yeah, so
fair
one thing I
enough.
found with this is that the type of, because it's so different from what you might typically be experiencing from either a text adventure or a first person game, it is novel in that sense. And because of that, it is inherently disorienting. And if I
Yeah.
remove something from the scene, you don't notice that it's gone. You just think you can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
And so keeping keeping the absence of a branch, which is, that's kind of funny. And I wanted the tone to be a little bit light here. That does allow you to stay spatially anchored to that point. Like it's easy to find that again and go, yes, I've looked here. I understand where I'm looking in relation to the other things that I know the location of. So the primary purpose of this first scene is to make sure that you know how to look up and down to find the branch. After that, most of what you need to interact with is around the middle. But there are some things that do require you to look up and down. Initially, I wanted to have like higher fidelity or high fidelity, like typical game assets, and because I felt like it might be interesting to trace around the contour of things in order to understand the space. But it turned out that was just super confusing. Instead of if you've got if you imagine a tree and you go off the trunk and onto a branch, you don't go, oh cool, I've gone off the trunk and onto a branch. You go, oh cool, another tree. So large blobby shapes turned out to be the right thing to be doing. Yeah, there's an exit to the northeast, I believe. If you look up a little bit higher.
Ah. It's like...
Well, these transition scenes to be a bit of a palate cleanser and like orally give you a chance to flush out the sounds and be ready to experience the next scene.
The forest opens out as to a crossroads path. From the south, the sound of a distant waterfall reaches our ears. Okay, we can go east. The age sign indicates the direction of the road. West to the west pass, east towards the village. So we village, if we broke our leg, we should probably go to the village and find a doctor first. That would make sense. Or if we, sprained it or something. Step 1, don't die, right?
Yeah. This is like typical adventure game stuff.
Yeah.
Where, you collect some inventory, solve some puzzles. It's a little bit less action-oriented than most of the other things we played today.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I don't know how well it's going to come across on a stream, though, but I recommend that everyone pick this up and try it out.
Yeah, the experience of watching it is very different from playing because you don't get to see what kind of movements, or viewers don't get to see the movements that you're making. Like the game is directly responding to your movements in a way that text games typically don't, right? Like it's one of the developers of Kentucky Route Zero described it as a continuous text experience and said he found that particular concept to be very, very interesting and evocative. And I really like that way of thinking about it. So the primary gameplay is mostly about exploring the spaces. If you think about that aspect, like the actual like solving puzzles and stuff is kind of secondary to that. If you don't enjoy the process of looking around a scene and finding stuff and trying to understand what things do, then you're never going to enjoy the game as a whole. But if you do enjoy that, then the narrative and the puzzles, I hope, are enough to make everything feel fun and worthwhile.
I think that I will definitely play more of this later, but I think that we'll not right now so I think we'll leave this for people to explore on their own.
So I made the engine that uses. That's my own custom thing. And
cool.
I've made my own editor tools as well, and I would like to release those tools for other people to use to make their own games when Winter's Wake is ready for release. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm really excited to be able to get back to that. It's kind of on hold right now while I work on other stuff. Particularly, I am now starting yesterday working full time on another game called Bone Sweeper,
Mm-hmm. To
which
Bone
I think is what we're
Sweeper.
going to look at next.
It is.
We planned that out well. So that game was in the Snowy Winter's Wake. The engine is called Icicle, and I've made a few other small games with that engine while I've been working on it. I would say that the spicy meatball saves the day is probably the most fun other game that I've made with the Icicle engine, and probably the biggest. You play as a superhero who's on their way home from fighting crime, and they find a burning building and need to head inside to rescue some people. It's fun, and you can die lots because I want to, like, in Winter's Wake you can't die at all, and I wanted to do another game where I explored how does it feel. Is it possible to make an interesting game where you can die Sierra style?
I don't know why this is not accepting itself.
Oh. Bone Sweeper is just another Godot game, like most of the others that we looked at today.
Mm-hmm. But for some reason, it's not capturing the window. Close it and reopen it.
I took while we go through these technical difficulties, I took Winter's Wake to PAX Australia in 2017, mostly because I wanted the experience of exhibiting something at PAX so that I could talk about that and share those experiences and compare those to other people's experiences. I was expecting to be thoroughly ignored. I felt like PAX was not the right venue for a text-focused experience. Because people are there to learn about the next Final Fantasy or the next Call of Duty or get a NVIDIA t-shirt or something, like those are, I don't like to use the term, but large mainstream events, and they have large mainstream audiences who are not necessarily gonna be as interested in odd experimental things.
Mm-hmm.
So I did everything I could to make my presence unappealing to people who would not like my my game. And like, I made you when you get a booth, you get a backing board that you can put a giant logo and stuff on, and I filled mine with a wall of text that
Nice.
used the game's narrative style to describe someone reading that text and deciding whether or not they want to check out the game.
Very meta. Very meta.
Yeah, because I figured that anybody who didn't want a reading-oriented experience would see that and just not bother. That felt like a good way to optimize my time, because I didn't want to waste my time on people who weren't interested. But it turns out that was a massive beacon for anybody who did want that. And I had queues the whole time.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear.
I was blown away. It was just like I had noise cancelling headphones as well, so people were able to sit down in this big noisy show floor and just cut all of that out and have just hear the game. Because audio, I assume you've got headphones on.
Yes.
Audio, positional audio is another thing that the game has going on, and you can hear when things move around.
That's very interesting. I do a lot of I actually do a lot of convention work. I don't know how much I've talked about that with you, but so that is very as a way of dissuading the wrong people, but simultaneously encouraging the right people, I think is a very interesting plan.
Honestly, it was an accident. It wasn't that conscious. I was mostly making sure that I didn't.
It was an accident.
Okay.
That time.
Oh yes, next time. Next time it
won't be an accident.
And I mean, I did hear people walk past and go, "Text adventures," and I'm kind of like, "You're a jerk to walk close enough to me that I can hear that in this very, very loud environment."
Because that's got to be intentional at that point, right?
But yeah, I didn't have to spend any time on them. And I also had on the back of my T-shirt, it said, "You see a developer. He looks tired, but he's eager to tell you about his game." On
Aww.
the back of my business cards, it says, "You receive a small card for an unusual game. The card describes an in-development fantasy adventure combining point-and-click style puzzles, text-based presentation, and first-person controls. Intrigued? You make note to visit winterswake.com." And people
Aw, that's
love that.
adorable. I love it. That's fantastic.
The website's the same. It's like opens with "You see a website." And does that kind of thing. I really enjoy doing the ancillary stuff for Winter's Wake. But anyway, it looks like we've got Bone Sweeper running now.
Yes. Okay.
So
what?
you can customize. Let's customize and give yourself
Oh,
a name.
absolutely.
I'm working on a larger version of this. I made this prototype back in March, and in the larger version, in your character customization stuff, you'll be able to customize an avatar that is present throughout the rest of the game. But for now, you can just put a name in. And so you can have multiple player profiles if you really want. But yeah, so the first thing we want to do is go and dig up some fossils.
All right, where are we going? Easy small sounds good.
Okay, so Umunosaurus is a plesiosaur. It's an Australian dinosaur. Let's go and dig up some bones.
We're going to Canada though.
Yeah, the locations are chosen randomly in this prototype in the full version of the game because I didn't have enough dinosaurs, right? Like I didn't have enough animals to. Interesting. At higher resolutions, it does not increase the width of this, so it looks tall and narrow and weird. But if you know how to play Minesweeper, you can skip the instructions.
Okay, I actually.
Oh. It actually moves the bones out from under your first 3 clicks, so the odds of not being great. There we go. All right.
Wait. Yeah. That can't be.
You can use the mouse wheel to change the tilt if you're excited about that kind of thing. You can hold down Alt to like do a top view while you're holding it down as a way of letting you play at an angle that's not conducive for gameplay.
So there's one there, one there, and that's that's referring to that other one.
Yeah, it's the busted one. So unlike Minesweeper, you don't have a game over when you destroy something. Because again, death as a consequence is just not interesting. It's more interesting, to me anyway, to say, well, I made a mistake. What is the best I can make of this situation? Okay, cool. We found 7 fossils and we smashed 1. So now we leave. And we can maybe build a skeleton. Why don't you click on the build skeleton button and we'll see how much we've got of the Umunosaurus. Not 0. Very much. Okay. No, it tells us that we've got something of so many bones, which I can't quite see on stream. But you need to start with the feet. So if you don't have any feet, then it won't let you try and.
Yep, it says 0.
So. We need to dig up more stuff.
Right. Well, no more of those. But let's go all the way to Hawaii.
Okay. What are we grabbing now? Oh, Pteranodon? Yeah, Pteranodon's kind of fun. So, yeah, this was like me going, what's Minesweeper like if it's interesting?
Well, there, we finally got one.
There we go. Yeah, so in a larger version of the game,
2 mines before we actually managed to get a single river.
Very bad luck. In a full version of this game, I would be putting more effort into making sure that you are going to have a good first dig that you can actually get something useful off.
Oops. How do I restart?
No, you can't. You got to live with your consequences.
But I don't want to live with my consequences. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that's things clear, which means this is here. So that's 4, 1. All right. So 1 cleans up this and this. This one is clear, clean. 2, 1,
I like the idea
2 must be here. So 1, 2, 3 must be here.
I like the idea of adding some special abilities in as well. So like maybe you can use like some kind of ground sonar thing, like in Jurassic Park, where you can use that to identify the numbers underneath undug tiles without, within a certain radius kind of thing, as a way of, But it's okay. Yeah, this is a hard one. It's meant to be hard, right? But you can also abandon a dig halfway through. Like, you don't need to finish it if you don't want to, either because it's too hard or because you've gotten everything you need to get out of it.
Well, now I'm stubborn.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I find it more interesting to go, I've made a mistake. What is the best I can make of this situation?
Yeah,
Than
I
it
do
is
like
to
that.
go, I made a mistake and the experience is over.
It also lets you play a little bit more free. Like, it lets you play a little bit more wild than the
Yeah,
do or
you can
die.
be loose and be comfortable with that, right?
Yeah. And it makes forks less frustrating.
Yeah. So I didn't do any like real conscious art direction for this. This is just me slapping stuff together as quickly as possible. Now, when I do a prototype, generally I just want to learn everything I can about the game, and I wouldn't learn anything about what does and doesn't work as far as the mechanics of the game go. I think maybe one of those flags there is not right. But yeah, I felt like I couldn't learn anything about how the mechanics of the game works by doing proper art direction. So like all of the stuff that's here is quick and dirty. I made the entire thing in a month, and so like all the skeleton models and stuff are just slapped together quite hasty. And I'm really looking forward to doing something bigger and more grander in scope and visual design moving forward. That was a long and roundabout way of saying don't judge me too harshly for this temporary stuff.
Fair. Sorry, I'm just engrossed right now. I am just
Yeah.
all in on this.
And like for people who enjoy Minesweeper,
I do.
This is fun and interesting. Like it's familiar gameplay, but it's got a slightly different spin on it.
Nope.
So in a full version of the game, there's going to be like the dig site equipment and stuff surrounding, in the surrounding area, rather than just a grid floating in space. And your avatar will be walking around the edge, pointing
That
at
would be
things.
cool.
Yeah.
That also helps to ground you as a part as being in the game world.
Right.
So one of these two,
But not both.
but not both. Fortunately, easy game. Got it.
So yeah, I feel like having some special abilities that are on a cooldown or limited use or something like that, that could allow you to take some of the uncertainty away from those kinds of situations would be valuable.
Oh,
and kind
right,
of
'cause
fun.
this is kind of that one.
Yeah. It's the one closest to the edge, I think, is it?
Yes.
E. So off a large one, we'll definitely get a lot of bones. I haven't really balanced the bone scarcity thing, so I think we'll probably get enough to make a Pteranodon out of this. For better or worse, though, Pteranodon is kind of a difficult build, but I think we'll be okay. I think we'll work it out.
There we go. We gotta finish this dig. We gotta stay focused. We gotta go.
Yeah, we got this.
It's gotta be that one.
Yeah. So you can do the hold down left click and then right click to dig the 9 tile area that the mouse is centered within. But unlike Windows Minesweeper, it will let you make mistakes. So Windows Minesweeper won't do that dig if you don't have enough flags to cover all of the connections.
I've
that
been
are
playing
yeah.
a phone version of Minesweeper where if you click on a number when you have a flag up, it will automatically clear all of the adjacent squares that you've decided it is not. So if I clicked the 4, it would auto clear this.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what the left and right click at the same time does. So you hold down left and then tap right, and it will do the big dig.
Oh, it's only for
But
dig. Okay.
but it will let you. It doesn't care how many flags you've
No,
got. If you,
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
the other
sorry.
thing is if you hit 1 and there's only one square, it'll flag it for you. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
I'll have a think about that. Like I want it to be within the domain of the kind of game that it is. I like the idea of it being fairly forgiving.
Hmm.
I don't want to make it not the kind of game that it is, right? Because like the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
point is that you use the numbers to deduce and understand things. If I take that away, then that makes the game less interesting.
Yeah,
But yeah,
the one
within
that I play, I think, is more geared towards speed running, and that way you can just click the angle, and then it'll automatically process that for you. So like clicking the 2 would be like, okay, you have a flag here, you know that there's 1 there, so it'll automatically say, okay, you click the 1, it'll go, okay, clear all this, which you have. But if you
yeah,
click the 1 here, it'll auto flag this. Say like, okay, you're clicking this because you recognize that there's only 1 square that's adjacent to this that could be. So you're clicking this as a confirmation that there is a thing there.
right, and it becomes. I mean, I guess because like on mobile you've got like a single button interface, like you don't have separate buttons, do you? I don't
Right.
have a mobile device, so I don't know anything. So like that's a way of I think feels like it's a way of maximizing what you can do with limited input
With
as well.
interfacing, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's
we're nearly there.
a better plan. I'm just saying that that's
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought.
it's it's an interesting variation on Minesweeper, which this is also. So I'm I'm just trying to say words while I look at it with a Minesweeper. That's the honest answer. I'm just
It's cool.
I'm just saying
it's
words
cool.
here. All right, so 2 means this one is, which is it figures at 3, which means that's clear, which means everything around here is clear, which means that this one has 1 here, which
I think we
satisfies
busted
that
that
4,
open.
which means that's clean, which means this one in here is which means 1,
Bam.
2, already done and done.
Hey, nice.
Nice.
All right. Do we want to try a hard build, or do we want to get an easier skeleton to start with?
We got the whole Pteranodon despite all the bones that we exploded.
Have we got 14 of 14?
We got 13 out of 13.
Oh, 13 out of 13. The preview is a little bit a little bit small for me. We can give it a go. It's kind of tricky though. So the controls are sort of like Tetris. So left and right to move left and right, up to rotate one way and down to rotate another way. If you can't place something, stick it in the bucket on the right. You can press and if you don't, it will smash.
I don't think I know enough about the biology to know when a foot bone exists.
So you can only
it
place
says on the right.
things...
It says on the right what it is. Oh, it says neck, wing left, wing right.
So you can only place the things that there are silhouettes for. Any of these...
Oh, those are silhouettes. Oh, okay. I thought that was a framework.
Any of these ones that look like there's something in rock, you can stick them in the left bucket. So that's a coprolite there, which is a fossilized poo. It's crap. That's a joke. Everyone should laugh.
Oh, okay, so that's... That goes over
and
there.
so like the idea of like doing the sort thing is something that you just kind of... It's another distraction to give you something else to do while you do this thing. Is that foot?
Wait, is that foot there? No. Looked like it didn't like that.
So the thing I wanted to explore with this Pteranodon was like how do like fine bones and like really small intricate pieces, how readable can they be, or how small can they be before they're not readable anymore?
Oops.
What keys are you using? Using the arrow keys?
Yeah.
Or are you using WASD?
I'm using arrow keys and spacebar.
If you have a number pad, you can press 9 and 7 on the number pad to automatically stick stuff in
Ah.
the buckets. And you press 0 to drop, which I find a little bit more comfortable.
There we go.
There we go.
Still no place for that. That I can see.
There is a little foot sitting in between like that little nook under the foreleg, under that front wing.
Maybe. Is that? There we go. This piece needs to go here. Please tell me this is the piece that goes here. Oh, it worked that time. Cool.
This is another case where, like, I want it to feel uncertain because it's not fun, or it's more, to me, it's more fun if you're not entirely certain. Like, if there's a chance of messing something up. If I make it too readable, then it takes something away from the game, I think. Very yes!
Very yes! How do I move that so I can actually see my work?
So click leave. And now go into the showcase.
Oh. Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
You can see some information about our cool friend there.
I like that a lot.
Cheers. And so there's 6 different species that you can get in here, and they're all different in terms of difficulty and what they're expressing.
But do you have my favorite dinosaur?
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, first you have to guess it, obviously. I mean, that goes without saying.
Is it a carnivore?
No.
Okay. Is it a ceratopsian?
Not by most dichotomies.
That's an interesting thing. Is that a Does that mean that it's sometimes mistaken for a ceratopsian?
It means that I'm not going to look up the details right now. But
okay.
I do believe
a ceratopsian is something that is related to Triceratops.
Right, of course. Yes. And I believe that it is sometimes confused. Oh, beans. It is wrong click. I believe it is some of the bones have been confused for Triceratops bones in the past.
Okay, so that does sound like a ceratopsian then. Because like ceratopsians include Triceratops and Styracosaurus and Psittacosaurus and Protoceratops, and you know that entire grouping is an order, or is it a family? I can never remember. Yeah. It's not Torosaurus, is it?
No. You haven't until I finish the puzzle.
There's a lot of dinosaurs out there, right?
True. Oh, man, I'm forked here, huh? Yeah.
No, I think you can deduce one of them.
Alright, so one of these two is, and one of these two is, and one of these two is, and one of these 3 is.
This one can be deduced with one of the kind of, in all cases, it can be this one, but can't be that.
It can always be this one.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of dinosaurs running around. Whole lot of them. Given that aves are part of that lineage.
Anyways, my favorite dinosaur is an Ankylosaur.
Oh, an Ankylosaur. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Nice. There is an Ankylosaur, but it is not Ankylosaurus.
Fair enough.
It is Cunbarosaurus, which is an Australian
Hmm.
Ankylosaur. When I was growing up, this because I wanted to represent a dinosaur that I knew something about, a particular specimen that I was aware of when I was growing up, and at the time that was believed to be or identified as belonging to uh, believed to be a specimen of Minmi, and then later was reclassified in like 2006 or something, like much later, because I
Mhm.
first heard about it in the late 80s, early 90s or something. And it was fun to come back and learn something new, right?
Yeah.
And
And
Deinonychus is obviously like a big, massive favorite of many
mhm.
people's.
The
You
reason
may
for
have
my
noticed that
sideways
the
answer,
background on the main menu adjusts to show fossils of whatever it is you just dug up.
oh, cool. The reason
Hmm.
for the sideways answer is that um, when they first were finding the ankylosaurs, they thought they found some of the club-tailed ones and assumed that it was a Triceratops club-tail, which also has a club-tail variant, I believe. If I'm recalling
Oh,
correctly,
interesting.
it was confused to be or maybe it was the Thagomizer one. Maybe it was the spike tail. I don't know. But they found a tail
A
and thought it was
Stegosaurus.
and thought it was a Stegosaurus,
Hmm.
but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the reason for the sideways answer.
Gotcha.
This is
But
fun.
yeah,
I
so
like
in
this.
in a full version of this, I would like to have an interactive map screen where you pick your
Mm,
dig sites from a map. And
yeah.
maybe there's like 3 dig sites at once, and you pick one, and then when you're done with that, maybe the 2 are there, but you can't ignore them for long, or they'll disappear on their own, or something like that.
Mhm.
Have you decide between things, but still give you the flexibility to sometimes go back and revisit things that you decided to not do previously up to a point. Um, I would like to have replace the showcase with a museum where you can actually place a bunch of your skeletons.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Um, and position them how you like them, and have some sense of ownership over the presentation of them.
hmm
Um,
Maybe something simple like
and
the even something simple like the Animal Crossing Museum would still give you a place to walk through and feel accomplished for what you've done.
right. And if you've got a customizable player avatar, then that's also giving you somewhere to,
To exist.
express
Yeah.
that and be present, have presence there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Excuse me. So the other thing that I'm looking at doing is adding like a research screen where you can spend your surplus bones, because you're always going to end up with tons, right? Like tons of spare stuff. If
Mhm.
you have everything but a skull, and then you go and do a dig, and you only get one skull, you're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff that you can't do anything with
Mhm.
until you get yet another skull.
Right.
Um, so I want to do something that allows you to have some use or purpose for surplus bones. And I think the research screen will probably be all about that. I don't think that last flag was correct. um,
I'm going speedrun stress. I'm not actually paying attention to the, what I'm doing. Now that I know that this game is going to be lenient for me for making mistakes, I'm just going full
yeah, go
bore.
nuts. But yeah, I definitely don't want to commodify fossils, right? Like that is not the history of paleontology is steeped in a whole bunch of problematic things that have happened, and a lot of that has
hmm
come from the commodification of these kinds of resources that, I think unarguably should be something that the entirety of humanity can learn and benefit from. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
How's the
I
joke
really
go? Name.
definitely don't want to let you sell sell your fossils.
hmm Name something
Um,
that seems British but isn't.
yeah, yeah,
The contents of the British National Museum.
yeah. And it's like you like thinking about, say, Archaeopteryx, which is like a really famous dinosaur that was first discovered that had feathers in it, like
hmm
a
hmm
long time ago. And there's that first specimen that was found is called the London specimen, and was found in Germany.
Yep. There's a lot of baggage.
Yeah, I mean, at least I'm pretty sure that one was purchased, like legitimately, rather than stolen or taken without permission. So that immediately puts it in a
Acquired.
very different situation from many other things. But yeah. So Deinonychus became fairly well known and popularized in the 70s, I think it was, when Ostrom. Whoa, careful now. John Ostrom, I think it was starting to push forward this idea that dinosaurs didn't really behave like and didn't just kind of don't really fit with our contemporary understandings of cold-blooded animals. So Ostrom was the one that kind of popularized this idea of dinosaurs as warm-blooded animals, and his description of Deinonychus was like a key part of pushing that forward. So Deinonychus, with that happening in the 70s, Deinonychus became like massive school favorite for kids in the 80s, and which in turn led to Velociraptor being in Jurassic Park. Now, at the time that Jurassic Park was written, there was a theory going around that Deinonychus was just an adult Velociraptor, which I don't think people are into the idea of anymore. Like, I don't think that's a prevailing theory at all now. But for people who are a little bit concerned or confused about why the velociraptors in Jurassic Park are way bigger than any of the specimens that we found are, that's because they are modeled after Deinonychus.
Yeah. Isn't Utahraptor another similar variation to that?
Another friend that's a little bit larger. You might need to rotate that one a couple times. Yeah. So part of this one was me exploring like how tricky does the game get when things get close to the top of the screen. And you seem to do okay there. I want to give some interesting sense of like movement and dynamism to the poses for the dinosaurs.
It comes across. I mean, that's something that they always try to do in the, in museums, is make the dinosaurs look like they have a, make them come to life as opposed to literally being in the death throes of fossilization.
Yeah, because like all the ones that we find are dead. Yeah, we don't find any examples that show us what a live animal looked like. They show us what a dead animal looked like.
Minus silly things like coelacanth, but yeah.
Well, yeah, coelacanths are rad. But we don't find any living fossil coelacanths. We find living coelacanths. Like
right.
The ones that we find that are fossils are dead. But yeah, I wanted the Deinonychus to feel a lot more bird-like, and have an inquisitive tilt to its head was sort of my goal here.
Very nice. This game is an absolute delight.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be moving ahead with a bigger version of this. Like, I feel like there's a much larger version of this game, which still focuses on this core loop of accumulate stuff across multiple digs and assemble them into skeletons. Like that's the core of the game, regardless of anything else. But a larger, more polished experience is something I'm really excited about. That's like you find a fossil of I don't remember what it was. I was talking with a paleontologist. I actually had there's a paleontologist who streams, Denny Anduza, who is his channel is called Paleontologizing. He played this on stream and was not. He by his own definition is not a gamer, and does not have a lot of game literacy, and he struggled a little bit with the dig stuff, but we worked out how to play it, and he was having a good time, and that was fantastic. And then we moved into the dig section, the assembly section, sorry, and he smashed a bunch of fossils and felt very, very sad.
Oh. I thought you were going to lead towards the opposite. That he got to the building section. He's like, okay, I know how to do this part, and aced it. But no, it does not.
No, he smashed I think he smashed 3 bones and had to turn it off.
Oh.
Which I feel very sad about. So in a larger version of this game, there's going to be 2 assembly modes. One, yeah, look at you. You don't care about smashing fossils. Yeah, so one version will be the kind of Tetris style controls that we've already seen here.
Mm-hmm.
And the other will be one where you click and drag the bone from the next bone pile and you drag it to where you want. And so you kind of do that at your own pace and in your own time. If you put it somewhere where it's not meant to go, like 3 times in a row or something, it'll smash. But the idea of having another second option that lets you have a less action-oriented experience, because this Minesweeper stuff is definitely not that, right? So there's potentially going to be players who really love Minesweeper and don't want any of that action stuff. In my mind, it's more interesting to have the contrast between the low stakes turn-based thing that the dig phase represents and a high
Yeah.
stakes real-time thing. Like from a pacing
Mm-hmm.
perspective, I find that interesting, but I think from an accessibility perspective, it's worth having like a second mode
Agreed.
for that
And
assembly
you
stuff.
otherwise you run the risk of baking a cake, right?
Maybe.
Are you
I
not
don't know if it's
okay?
a cake you can eat.
So there was a do you know who Serlin is? He does mostly tabletop games though, so I guess you probably don't go in the same circles.
My tabletop literacy is very small.
Fair enough. He was is a tabletop game dev, and one of his writings was imagine playing a fighting game tournament, like like Street Fighter or something like that, and in between sets, all the players had to go make a cake. They had to go bake a cake, and how well they how good of a quality of a cake they made determined their health for the next
Nice.
tournament round.
I
And
love that.
the question is like, well, why would somebody do that? And his response is, then why are we asking people to eyeball measurements in a strategy game on a tabletop? Why are we asking people to use a completely different skill to look at the tabletop and eyeball what 14 inches looks like instead
Right.
of having them focus on the actual strategic elements of the game? It's using a completely different skill, like making someone bake a cake in a fighting game tournament.
But that's still interesting. Like if that's your
Mm-hmm.
theme, if that's what you're doing, that becomes its own nuanced take on, it's creating a relationship between those skills.
Well,
But I agree. If your
yeah.
tabletop game, like, yeah, you're going to have some people who are good at that and some people who aren't good at that. And if you can find a way to make that resonate, then that's wonderful. But if you can't, then don't.
Well, it's also very restricting. In many of those games, if you can't eyeball a measurement, you lose, and
Mm.
that's not a measure of how well of skilled a tactician you are. That's a measurement of how well you can eyeball distances, which is which is not in the same skill set. Plus, it's also um gender like men are better at doing that than people who are assigned male at birth are better at eyeballing distances than people who are assigned female at birth. So like it's an immediate restriction on half the population who might be playing the game, who even if someone really likes strategy games, if they can't eyeball measurements then as well as you can, then well there's an inherent
It feels like
restriction
it's a
slash
cultural
disadvantage.
thing, or it feels like it would be a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm. Mayhap, maybe. I've seen the studies
I don't know.
results. I
I've
haven't
not.
seen like read. Anyways, is this is like it's the idea of having two disparate skills being tested that might not coincide as well as it might seem in the early development. So I like the
Yeah.
idea
It's
of
always
making
important to
it.
reflect on.
Yeah. I'll send you that talk next time I come across it. But that's saying that's what it brought to my mind when you were describing that.
Yeah. I kind of do like the idea of sticking a cooking tournament into a thing. Like, have you heard of a game called
I think the
Battleship Brigade? By the way.
no, I think the keystone is that it has to be an intentional decision, not just something that you add to the
Right.
game.
Exactly.
And I think
Yes.
that the old specifically Warhammer, the old tabletop format wasn't an intentionally minded choice. That was just happened to be how they modeled how they handled
Yeah. Yeah.
that side of it.
So Battleship Brigade is a cooking game where you have to go out into the wilderness and hunt animals to use as ingredients, and so it's a fighting game
Hmm.
inside a cooking game.
Okay.
Which I absolutely love that game. And the idea is that the world was invaded by these corrupted beasts in the past, and these battle chefs came and kind of saved humanity hundreds of years ago. And there's this academy has grown out of it, and you're trying to join this academy. Whoa, careful now.
I think that is very good if you're like I said, if you've designed that from the ground up, if that's your intent.
Yeah. Right. That's why I brought it up as an example. It's if you're finding a way to make this work, or there can be ways to make it work, but you've got to find a way to make it resonant.
That's this one.
It's an interesting challenge to try and make every, to try and make every individual cluster of bones chunk of skeleton identifiable.
And you could really spike the difficulty by well, not necessarily spike, but you could definitely add layers of replayability and difficulty by having to do the same mold from different angles. Like this angle right here, is that going to freeze on stream? I don't know. This angle here would be a completely different experience than the angle that you had picked before.
Right, exactly. I do want to have multiple poses per species.
I mean, even on the same pose, just rotated.
Well, I mean, like that when it comes time to pull that into the museum, though, that doesn't give you something interesting from having done something different in the assembly phase. So, I do feel like I want to have multiple poses per species anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of mileage that you can potentially get out of that kind of stuff. So, how many different species have you done now? You've done Pteranodon and you've done Deinonychus.
Yep, and I did 2 pterodons.
Why don't you try the Cumbarosaurus? I know that we don't have enough to finish it, but you can still use what you've got. This one is probably the hardest. It has a lot of osteoderms. So osteoderms are the little tiny bony platy bits that most Ankylosaurs have, and nodosaurs as well.
I don't think I have any feet.
Yeah, you got.
Oh, there's one. I got a foot.
There we go. Nice. What's up with that foot? You can't place that. There's something weird with that foot.
Weird. We may never know. Science may never actually solve an answer to this.
I had wanted to do the pose that this dinosaur has with the Stegosaurus, but I just couldn't really make it work. But I do enjoy this pose. This pose makes me very happy to have found a way to put it into the prototype. So yeah, the osteoderms really kind of cloud things up and make things harder to read. And I find, this was me trying to explore the limits of that. It's like, how far can I push that?
There we go.
Hey, nice.
Is that the tail? That could be it. Yeah, that's that. Okay. Oh.
Careful. Hey, we can finally put that leg. So this is what you see when you haven't finished doing a skeleton. There's also there's a whole bunch of gameplay options, and you can make it so that the current slot will be highlighted green if you can place the current bone. So for people who want to do this but don't want it to be anywhere near as difficult, there's that option.
Very nice.
You can also control the fall speed as well.
That makes sense.
Which at the moment is a slider that controls the delay between steps as it moves down, which means that the longer the delay, the slower it is, and the smaller the delay, the faster it is, which is the opposite of what people would intuitively expect. But this was a prototype, and I was not really interested in making UX a priority. It was more about just quickly getting something in there.
That's fair. I definitely want to see where this goes. I like where the direction this has.
Well, cheers. I'm very excited to move forward, and yeah. I really enjoy the menu backgrounds here as well. Menu backgrounds kind of make me really happy that I was able to come up with something that gives you a reason to think about, not necessarily consciously, but gives you a space to think about your if you're sitting there and not just like looking for something to, if you're bored and you're looking and you go, oh yeah, I remember that, I dug up on that. So the prototype that's out there now is
Mhm.
playable. It's on my itch page. If anybody does want to check this out, it's totally there.
Yeah, I highly recommend people do that. And when the video goes live, which will be, I mean, it's live now, obviously, but when the video goes up, people watching this will have the links in the description.
Fantastic. How long away is that likely to be? Is that something you can do today?
Oh yeah, no, that'll be like within 10 minutes of us ending, which is
Okay, no worries. So
coming
this
up quick
version that you're
swiftly.
playing is not publicly available yet. The version that's publicly available only has 5 species in it, and I'm doing a little patch to add a little quit screen that announces that I'm making a bigger version based on this game, and that will be out within the next couple of days, and
Nice.
have an extra species.
Oops, wrong button. So please look forward to that, everyone.
Yeah, and so the game does have like some instructions if you're not familiar with how things work.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, we can't place that. You go press escape to
No, it's interesting that it latches. Like, it
Wait,
doesn't
does it
latch
play the
there,
sound?
but if I put it here, it snaps and then
Oh,
decides, nope, never mind, just kidding.
does it play the sound?
Nope. It just
Okay, well,
tethers. It just tethers, then decides not to.
I guess I'm comfortable with leave. You didn't have to smash that. This is the Halloween version, the headless Deinonychus. I don't know if you've seen, but in the showcase you can check out those miscellaneous fossils as well.
Nah.
And you can
Oh,
use the mouse
nice.
wheel to look at them from different angles.
Cool.
I'm really glad that I put a fossil poo in there.
Mm-hmm. It adds a lot.
Yeah. So like in a museum, like maybe you've got a little display case and you're like, oh, this is my trilobite displays,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. Why is that not centered? Come on. Yeah, so that's why that's not public yet. I still have a couple of small things to assess and deal with.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for joining and showing off all these wonderful things.
Thank you for playing. I hope some of it's been interesting. I understand that not everything is for everybody. I, as a creator, have a whole lot of different things in me that I would like to create and express. So some of that's supply chain, and some of that's first-person shooty stuff, and some of that's
Mm-hmm.
bees that explode. Some of that's peaceful digging up fossils.
A delightful collection.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful. It's early day for you, so I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day as well.
Likewise, I wish everybody the most wonderful of wonderful days.
And don't forget to subscribe and follow the jam if you haven't already, and hit all the wonderful buttons that make me happy.
Yeah. And like these, most of these were examples of things that you can make with Godot, so
Absolutely.
it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Cheers, friends.